put this video off all year for multiple reasons, and the biggest probably is the fact that the Miami Heat have been one of my favorite teams since the D Wade years. However, Tyler Herro is a problem, and I've been wanting to address this for years now, and I think after this play-in loss to the 76ers, we should talk about it. I'm Mr. B, and you've entered the 3. Chapter 1. Tyler Herro by the numbers. Now, I want to say right out the gate, Tyler Herro is a solid player. He is worthy of being in the NBA, and he is definitely worthy of being in almost every team's rotation. That said, I want to start with the numbers before we break down the other area of his game. Herro, a 6'5" guard, was drafted 13th in 2019 by the Miami Heat. In his first season, it looked like the guy was posed to be a scoring problem for years to come, to everyone except me, but I'll hold off on that point until later. In his rookie season, in 27 minutes per game, he averaged 13 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists with 1.6 turnovers per game, shooting 42% from field goal, 38% from 3, and 87% from the free throw line. Not horrible numbers by any stretch of the imagination. In his second year, in 30 minutes per game, he averaged 15, 5, and 3 with 1.9 turnovers, shooting 43, 36, and 80%. In his third year, in 32 minutes per game, he averaged 25 and 4 with 2.6 turnovers, shooting 44, 39, and 86. In his fourth year, in 35 minutes, he averaged 25 and 4 with 2.4 turnovers, shooting 43, 37, and 93. And this season makes his fifth year. In 33 minutes, he averaged 25 and 4 with 2.2 turnovers, shooting 44, 39, and 85. You can see he had a bit of a breakout year in his third year, and he showed this by increasing his scoring from 15 to 20 points per game in year 3, doing so with only 2 extra minutes per game. That may be in part to the fact that he also increased his free throw from 80% to 86%, which made him a more reliable player. And it also won him the 6th Man of the Year award. Another way to look at stats is to see where they ranked him amongst the other guards in the NBA. And as you can see over the years, he's seen decent improvement, especially if we focus on year 4 and 5, when he started. I will say for year 5, his numbers are a bit higher in my opinion due to him playing less games, but the numbers are the numbers. And if we want to rank him in terms of value on his team, the Miami Heat, we can look at some advanced stats. Now, I eliminated players that played less than 30 games with the Heat as they have had a ton of injuries, and players being cycled in and out the rotation might skew data. So for starters, in games played, he's 10th, but I understand no one wants to be injured, so I understand that. In terms of the other advanced stats on his team, he's 3rd in minutes per game, 9th in offensive rating, 12th in defensive rating, 9th in net rating, 8th in assist to turnover ratio, 11th in effective field goal percentage, 12th in true shooting percentage, 5th in player impact, all while being 1st in usage. Now, this is out of 14 players that qualified with the 30 games played rule I said earlier. So at best, when it comes to player impact, he's the 5th best player on the team. Other than that, even the bench is more effective than Herro. Now, I am the first to admit that these stats are not everything and do not fully show a player's impact. However, when we look at his meh ranking amongst guards and his less than meh ranking on his team, the picture is getting clear by the second. Having this type of player be the number 1 usage player on a team can be dangerous. That means the team relies on him to make plays in crucial moments of the game, seeing as he tends to have the ball in his hands most of the game. But that's not where the downward spiral ends for Tyler Herro. Chapter 2. How I look at numbers. Now, the best and worst part of statistics is that there are so many we could look at. In fact, it can be daunting and a nightmare when discussing basketball with fellow lovers of the art form. You might hold a set of stats that show your player to be the best there ever was, while your friend or friendly neighborhood internet troll is holding stats to tear that same player to shreds. Wins are not easy to come by. So when I started pulling numbers for Tyler Herro, I went with the basics that everyone always pulls, and to be impartial, I must admit his numbers are not the best, but also not the worst. Yes, these numbers, if we place them in context, there are 30 teams in the NBA. That means there are at least 60 starting guards aside from teams that run 3-guard lineups, which I will place aside for now. That means that there are at least 60 starting spots for guards every year. Another way to view that is that if you secure one of those spots, you have a 1 in 60 chance at an all-star selection. So looking at Tyler's stats, we can see for the most part, he lands quite often in the top 60. And focusing on years 4 and 5 because those years he started, minus the turnover category because you want to be ranked low in that category. So we're left with 12 slots, and he missed the top 60 only 3 times. The dude is 9 for 12, which is solid. Now, the opposite side can argue he was only top 30 5 times out of 12, which is where I find my problem with him. And no one talks about Herro being the next best thing, and I can appreciate that, but this video is not to dispel any dreams he might hold to being a top guard in this league. It's to prove he will be the downfall of the Miami Heat. More specifically, I'm referring to right now. In the future, I don't know what the guy might become, but I know what he is right now. And now that we have context of where he ranks amongst the top guards and amongst the 60 starting guards, we can look at another major factor for success in the NBA, which is his salary. And feel how you want, but I've said it before and I'll never change. The NBA is a business. And currently, Tyler Herro is ranked 52nd in player salary, pulling in $27 million this year and is set to see an increase of $2 million for the next 4 years. Those numbers alone might be enough since we know he is basically a top 40 to 50 guard based on the stats we've looked at, but I want to drive the point home. For perspective, he makes more than all-star guard Jalen Brunson, who averaged 28, 3, and 6. Colin Sexton, who averaged 18, 2, and 5, playing 78 games this year. D'Angelo Russell, who averaged 18, 3, and 6, playing 76 games. Two-time block champ Miles Turner, who averaged 17 and 6, shooting 35% as a center. 2020 NBA champ and forward Kyle Kuzma, who averaged 22, 6, and 4. One-time All-Star Lauri Markkanen, who averaged 23, 8, and 2. Two-time All-Star Nikola Vucevic, who averaged 18, 10, and 3. One-time All-Star center Jared Allen, who averaged 16, 10, and 2. Malik Monk, who averaged 15, 3, and 5 and did it in 7 less minutes but played 30 more games than Herro. And just for salt in the wound, and because I'm petty enough to know most of you probably don't like him, 4-time champ, 8-time all-defensive team, 2017 Steel champ, and 1-time defensive player of the year, Draymond Green. And say what you want about Green slowing down, but he won an all-defensive team last year and won't make it this year due to not playing enough games at 55, which is more than Herro's 42 anyway. So if we got into the nitty-gritty and really went through all of the stats and players, we could pull out more players making less than Herro with comparable stats. Now, this is a big deal, no pun intended, considering Miami builds their offense around Herro, taking any shot he pleases. Yes, he shoots decent splits, but his shot selection and decision making is questionable at best, and I think it's time we address it. Chapter 3. Numbers can fool an eye test. One thing I always tell people when we talk basketball is that the numbers always sound good when someone just reels off a bunch of stats. However, any true watcher of the game will know how flawed stats can be. And when dealing with highly skilled players, everyone knows there are ways to pad stats, which is why advanced metrics have grown in popularity. They are harder to fool. But when it's said and done, there is no better judge than the combination of stats with the eye test. There are shots and plays that take place during a game that are hard to gauge from a simple stat sheet. And in the case of Miami and Tyler Herro, we can see that in the play-in game versus Philly. Herro's stats showed he scored 25 points and had 9 assists. And most people would see those numbers and say, he played pretty solid. But anyone who watched the game would have seen the 5 terrible turnovers at crucial moments. They would have felt his 3 for 14 3-point performance and 33% field goal performance. Oh, and his 1 foul was due to the fact that the man played little to no defense. But that's kind of normal for Tyler Herro. He's not really out there for defense, and that's okay. But that isn't even his worst offense in my opinion. Herro pretty much handled the point guard duties during the game, hence the 9 assists, which I can appreciate, but minus the 5 turnovers, and he really didn't do too well at the helm. Even worse, Bam Adebayo was non-existent. That's right, his all-star center, 19 point, 10 rebound, 4 assists per game, shooting 52%, did not have access to the ball. Bam's stat line is disrespectful. He had 10 points on 55% shooting with 12 rebounds and 1 assist, 2 blocks and 1 turnover, all while holding Embiid to 23 points on 35% shooting. 9 of those points were free throws, and he forced him to have 3 turnovers. Now, let's forgive the refs for not giving Bam even 1 free throw, which was shameful, but he shot 55% and grabbed 12 boards. The only clear reason he did not do more is because he did not touch the ball enough. And I hope Spoelstra paid attention, because this game plan is a sure way to lose. Running the offense through Herro is a bad idea for so many reasons, but none more than the fact that his biggest weapon was overlooked. In fact, Herro had 9 assists, but should have had like 15. His teammates shot beautiful aside from Butler. Jovic shot 2 for 2, Martin 2 for 3, Love 3 for 5, Highsmith 4 for 8, Jaquez 6 for 11, Bam 5 for 9. Basically, swing or kick and you have an assist. I just can't take it. I think it's time to start wrapping up this rant. You know, last year I celebrated the fact that Herro would not be playing in the playoffs. Although I truly hated it was due to injury, I never like to see that, especially for a guy who gives 100% when on the court. And he really goes all out, but I personally don't think his playstyle will win games as it is today. I mean, he shoots questionable shots, and when he's hot, there's no doubt it's exciting, but when he's cold, it's over because he doesn't change course well enough. And never should your all-star player take only 9 shots when they're shooting 55%. This isn't the first time I've seen guys suffer at the hand of Herro's perceived scoring prowess. And if the Heat lose tonight, mark my words, the stat line will look similar. I feel like if they rein Herro in just a bit, they really can go all the way with this roster. That is, if Jimmy Butler comes back healthy, because if not, well, it's pretty much over. But you know, your greatest weapon cannot feel like your biggest mountain, especially not against teams like the Bucks and the Celtics, who leave little room for error. Well, that's it for me. Mr. B, signing out.